Welcome along to another Met Office 10-day trend with an awful lot going on. You've probably noticed it's a little cold outside, and that cold weather will continue for the next couple of days. There are still Met Office warnings in place for snow and ice. I'm not going to go through the details here. They're available on the Met Office app and on the website. The big question, when will it turn milder? Well, now there is quite a strong signal that it will turn milder next week. Milder, but also quite a bit wetter. And there are still some big complications about how we get there. The transition is going to take place through this weekend, but it will still generally feel pretty cold this weekend, windy and wet as well. And when I say wet, that means, yes, a continued risk of snow, more in the west compared to the east, and even some freezing rain. More on that in a moment. First of all, let's take a look at the big picture. High pressure to the north, low pressure down to the south. That's what's generating those bitterly cold easterly winds that have been with us throughout this week. But notice too, there's a large swirl, a large area of low pressure out in the Atlantic. Let's not forget that, because that will become more of a player, especially by the weekend. But for the next couple of days, the high pressure dominates, actually moving in across the UK, and the isobars spacing out. That's quite important because it means the winds are easing down. Now, lighter winds by day means it doesn't feel as cold. We'll lose the wind chill. But lighter winds at night allow the temperatures to fall further. And it's looking very cold Thursday morning. Some of the coldest conditions we've seen for a number of years. -20 is possible across parts of Scotland, -15 where there's snow on the ground across northern England, negative double digits again where there's snow on the ground across the east. Not quite as cold in the southwest because here it'll stay pretty blustery and there could be some snow showers and the potential for ice on Thursday morning too. But for many with high pressure in control, Thursday and Friday will be dry and fine with sunny skies. That high pressure, that blocking area of high pressure, keeping the weather fronts at bay for now. But as we run through Friday and Saturday, those weather fronts just start to make a little bit more of an inroad across the UK. And certainly by Sunday, this one will be sitting more across northern and western parts. And the winds have then changed direction. No longer an easterly, now a southerly wind. Now, you might think that that's going to bring milder air, and eventually it will, but it's not quite that straightforward. Let's rewind, run back and show you those few days with the temperature profile on. This is Thursday, cold air right across the UK. Again, the next few days, so there's weather fronts just nibbling away. Every time a weather front approaches, just that cold starts to recede somewhat. And by the time we get to Sunday, well, the whole of the UK has changed from blue to green. The milder air is in place, yes, but it's not quite that straightforward because these colours represent the temperature not at the surface, but at around 1.5 kilometres up through the atmosphere. We use them because they're useful for dictating weather patterns and air masses. But actually at the surface, it will still be cold throughout this weekend. And this next chart shows that. This is a tephigram, or a profile, a slice through the atmosphere from the ground all the way up to the top of the atmosphere, and this is for Cumbria on Sunday. The black line is the temperature and the dotted line is the wet bulb temperature. Where they join, where they come close together, that means the atmosphere is very, very moist indeed, so we've got cloud and probably also some wet weather falling out of the sky. And I'm just going to zoom in across this profile because it shows something really quite interesting. The blue solid line there, that's where the temperature is at 0 degrees Celsius. And notice at the surface, it's below freezing. But higher up through the atmosphere, where we've got clouds and probably some wet weather as well, it is getting above freezing. Now, this is a classic profile for something called freezing rain. We call this a warm nose, and it's just sticking into the milder air. It's telling us that where we've got precipitation falling out of the cloud, it is above freezing. So it's likely to be rain. But by the time it gets to the surface, we're on the cold side of the 0 degree line, and so the air here is below freezing. So what we're likely to see is rain falling from a cloud and then falling quickly through part of the atmosphere that's below freezing, and probably too quick for it to refreeze. So what we have then is something called supercooled water. So it's still in liquid form, but it's below freezing. And when it hits the surface, it freezes instantly and creates an ice rink. We We call this freezing rain. It's quite rare in this country. Certainly, it's quite rare to see such a strong signal from the computer models to see freezing rain. This is a projection for Saturday showing much of the western side of the UK with a real mishmash of blue snow, green being rain. Large parts of the east will be dry on Saturday, but quite a strong signal there for the red, which is freezing rain across parts of northwest England and Wales. And again on Sunday, again, large signal for parts of the country to see that really dangerous freezing rain. So that is something we need to keep an eye on through the course of the weekend. Overall, as I said at the start, it's going to feel cold. It's going to be quite a windy weekend. Many eastern areas will be dry, but there will be that wet weather in the west, which will be a mixture of rain, snow and freezing rain. What happens beyond that? Well, we've got that weather front moving in for Sunday, and then another one tries again to displace that high pressure to the east by the time we get to Monday. And all the while, again, that milder air just creeping in. This temperature profile is the temperature at the surface, but you can still see parts of the east are still going to feel pretty cold into Monday, even though temperatures will by then be creeping up. And that really cold air, that high pressure blocking everything with the cold air, hasn't actually shifted. Although we've seen a change across the UK, across northern Europe, the change hasn't occurred. The blocking area of high pressure is still in place for next week, and that battleground continues for next week. The most likely pressure pattern for next week is that low pressure will be to the northwest or the west of the UK. High pressure not shifting anywhere, with the cold air still in place across Europe. We will mostly be influenced by the low pressure, it looks like, and the winds coming in from the south or the southwest. So it is going to be turning milder across the UK, but notice that cold block isn't too far away. This next graph is a meteogram. We've shown these before. Again, I picked Coventry, but it could have chosen almost anywhere for the UK, and it shows the temperature trend. So the red blobs, that's the maximum temperature, and this red line is the average temperature. Dates going along the bottom. So you can see for the next couple of days in Coventry, temperatures below average, well below, and then that jump at some point through the course of the weekend, it jumps up, and for much of next week, the red blobs are above that red average line. But notice, however, particularly towards the end of the week, there's some of those blobs with quite a long tail on them. That's where some of the computer models, when we run it lots of times, are suggesting that it could still be cold. So there is a hint that cold air could come back. But the most likely scenario is for the milder air to win out next week. Milder, but also wetter weather with spells of rain, with the ground saturated. That could cause some flooding issues, so that's something we need to watch. And of course, there's a lot of snow lying on the ground across parts of Scotland, northern England and eastern England in particular. And if temperatures jump up quickly, well, that snow will thaw quickly, and that could also cause some flooding issues. As I said, plenty going on, plenty to keep us busy. Make sure you stay up to date with the very latest from the Met Office by following us on social media.